The curious observation. The research observatory of Helios Station hung suspended at the edge of the Andromeda Milky Way bridge, its crystalline structure capturing the light of distant stars. Within its walls, Dr. Neera Voss peered through microscopic enhancement fields, her violet skin reflecting the blue glow of the laboratory equipment. Humans can reproduce every day of their lives and their reproductive systems never falter, she muttered, recording her observations. It's biologically unprecedented, yet it happens, defying every universal law of reproductive science. Dr. Voss leaned back from her console, the luminous patterns in her indigo eyes shifting as she contemplated the data. As the leading xenobiologist of the Galactic Research Consortium, she had studied 27 species' reproductive patterns, but human biology continued to baffle her. The door to her laboratory slid open with a soft hiss, revealing her research assistant, Jorax. The slight folian's translucent skin quivered nervously. Dr. Voss, the council is questioning your research focus again, Jorax said, placing a data chip on her desk. They're calling it obsessive and potentially destabilizing. Neera waved a slender hand dismissively. The council fears what they don't understand, Jorax. This isn't just about reproductive capacity, it's about cellular regeneration, evolutionary adaptation, and biological resilience unmatched in the known universe. She brought up a holographic comparison of reproductive cycles across various species. The Thoraxians must rest for 14 days between mating periods. Centaurians require 9 days of recovery. Even our own species, the Valori, need 5 days of neural recalibration. But humans, daily reproduction without biological repercussions. It's impossible, yet it exists. Jorax shifted uncomfortably. The political implications are concerning, Dr. Voss. Some council members suggest that humans could theoretically outpopulate any species in the Alliance if not contained. This isn't about politics, Neera snapped, her skin darkening slightly with irritation. It's about understanding the fundamental principles of life itself. Did you arrange the meeting I requested? Yes, Doctor. The human diplomat arrives tomorrow. Tommen Reed from the Earth Diplomatic Corps. Neera's expression softened slightly. Excellent. I need to observe a human up close, one who will answer my questions honestly. Their biology may be the key to unlocking regenerative medicine that could benefit all species. After Jorax departed, Neera activated her private research logs, encrypted files hidden from the Council's prying surveillance. Log entry 347. Human reproductive capabilities continue to defy conventional evolutionary theory. My hypothesis is that humans didn't evolve naturally, but were either genetically modified at some point in their history or are the result of foreign intervention. Tomorrow, I'll begin testing with a living subject. She paused, considering her next words carefully. If my theory is correct, humans aren't just another species. They're evolutionary anomalies that could reshape our understanding of biology itself. The following day, Neera's laboratory was prepared for her guest. The clinical blue lighting was softened, comfortable seating installed, and all invasive-looking equipment concealed behind retractable panels. She wanted Tommen Reed to feel at ease, not like an experimental subject. When the door slid open, Neera's breath caught momentarily. Tommen Reed stood taller than she expected, his frame athletic but not imposing. His dark skin contrasted with the station's sterile environment, and his eyes, deep brown and perceptive, immediately swept the room with practiced diplomacy. Dr. Voss, he greeted her, voice smooth and measured. I'm Tommen Reed, Earth Diplomatic Corps. I understand you have questions about human biology. Neera gestured toward the seating area. Thank you for agreeing to this meeting, Ambassador Reed. My research focuses on comparative reproductive biology, and human physiology presents some fascinating anomalies. Tommen smiled politely as he sat. Most species find something about humans perplexing. The Arcturians are obsessed with our sleep patterns, while the Novarians can't comprehend our emotional variability. And I'm curious about your reproductive capabilities, Neera said directly. Specifically, the human male's ability to reproduce daily without physical deterioration or recovery periods. Tommen's eyebrow raised slightly. That's an unusually direct approach, Doctor. Science benefits from clarity, she replied. Most species have strict biological limitations. The Draxians require 12 days between mating cycles. Folians need 2. Even my species, the Valori, cannot reproduce more than once per week without serious neural complications. And humans are different, Tommen said, nodding. I suppose we are. I've never given it much thought. It's simply how we function. It shouldn't be possible, Nira said, her voice intensifying. From an evolutionary standpoint, it's wasteful and unnecessary. No other species has developed such capacity because there's no survival advantage to it. Tommen leaned forward, intrigued despite himself. You believe there's something unnatural about human reproduction. The laboratory lights flickered suddenly, and a low alarm began pulsing through the station. Nira's communication panel lit up with emergency protocols. Security breach in Sector 7, announced an automated voice. All personnel implement lockdown procedures. Tommen was instantly alert, his diplomatic polish giving way to something more primal and focused. What's happening? Nira accessed her security feeds. Unmarked vessel docking without authorization. 5 intruders entering through the maintenance shafts. She looked up at Tommen, her eyes narrowing. This is too coincidental. Did anyone know you were meeting me today? Only my superior, Tommen said, his hand moving to his side where Nira presumed he carried a concealed weapon. And yours. Just Jorax and, she paused, realization dawning. The Council, they've been monitoring my research more closely than I thought. The laboratory door sealed automatically as the station's security protocols engaged. Nira moved quickly to her main console, initiating a data transfer to her secure backup. We need to move, Tommen said, scanning the room for exits. If they're coming for your research, this lab will be their first target. Nira hesitated, looking at her life's work surrounding her. I can't abandon everything. You won't have any research if you're dead, Tommen interrupted. Is there another way out of this lab? Nira nodded reluctantly, moving to a seemingly solid wall panel. Her hand pressed against it in a specific pattern and the panel slid away, revealing a narrow maintenance tunnel. Emergency exit. It leads to the lower research levels, she explained, grabbing a small data device and securing it in her clothing. Why are you helping me? You barely know what my research entails. Tommen's expression hardened. Because I've seen that look before, the one in your eyes when you talk about human biology. You're not just curious, you've found something. And now someone wants to ensure you don't share it. As they entered the maintenance tunnel, the laboratory door behind them shuddered under a heavy impact. Nira sealed the hidden entrance just as they heard the main door being forced open. They're here, she whispered. Tommen nodded grimly, then we need to be elsewhere quickly. As they hurried through the dim service corridor, Nira realized that her academic curiosity about human biology was rapidly transforming into something far more personal and dangerous. The diplomat beside her moved with unexpected skill, his reactions quick and decisive. Ambassador Reed, she said quietly as they navigated the narrow passage. You move like someone with military training, not diplomatic corps. Tommen glanced at her, his expression unreadable. All Earth diplomats receive basic security training. This seems beyond basic, she observed. He didn't respond immediately, focusing instead on the path ahead. When he finally spoke, his voice was lower than before. When we're safe, Dr. Voss, perhaps we can have a more honest conversation about your research and about me. The distant sound of boots on metal flooring echoed through the maintenance shaft. Their pursuers had discovered the hidden exit. 3 levels down there's a transport hub, Nira said, quickening her pace. If we can reach it, we might find a way off this station. And then what? Tommen asked. Nira's expression was grim but determined. Then I show you exactly why someone is willing to kill for my research, and why human biology may be the most dangerous secret in the galaxy. As they descended deeper into the station, the emergency lights cast long shadows ahead of them. Nira knew she was leaving behind everything she had worked for, but the data secured against her chest contained something far more valuable than equipment or facilities. It contained the truth about human evolution, a truth that someone clearly wanted to suppress. And beside her walked living proof of her theories, a human whose biology defied explanation, whose very existence challenged everything the Alliance believed about natural evolution. A human who might be more than he appeared. The chase had begun, but this was only the start of their journey. The real discoveries lay ahead, waiting to be uncovered if they could stay alive long enough to find them. The maintenance tunnels of Helios Station twisted through the structure like veins. dimly lit by emergency lighting that cast everything in a dull red glow. Dr. Nira Voss moved with surprising agility for someone who spent most of her time in laboratories, her violet skin absorbing the red light and making her nearly invisible in the shadows. Tom and Reed followed close behind, his movements precise and economical. No wasted energy, no hesitation. The sounds of their pursuers echoed through the metal corridors, boots on grating, terse commands exchanged in lowered voices. "They're splitting up to cut off escape routes," Tommen whispered, pressing closer to Nira. "How well do you know these tunnels?" "Well enough," she replied, pausing at a junction, "but they'll have accessed the station's schematics by now." Tommen considered this. "Then we need to go somewhere that isn't on the official maps." A faint smile crossed Nira's face. "I've maintained a private research space on level 14. It's off-grid, powered independently and shielded from standard scans." "Lead the way," Tommen said, checking behind them. "They're getting closer." They descended 3 more levels via a narrow maintenance ladder, emerging into a service corridor lined with power conduits. Nira guided them through a maze of turns until they reached what appeared to be a dead end. She placed her palm against a seemingly ordinary wall panel and a hidden door slid open. Quickly, she urged them. They stepped into a compact but well-equipped laboratory, significantly smaller than her official workspace but filled with more advanced technology. As the hidden door sealed behind them, the lights activated automatically, bathing the room in a soft blue glow. "Security lockdown initiated," announced a synthetic voice. "External sensors active, no pursuers detected within 50 meters." Tommen surveyed the room with professional interest. "Impressive, the station administrators don't know about this." "A benefit of designing the scientific facilities on Helios," Nira explained, moving to a central console. "I included a few personal modifications to the original blueprints." She inserted the data device she'd taken from her main laboratory into the console. Holographic displays sprang to life around them, showing complex genetic sequences and comparative biological analyses. "We have perhaps 20 minutes before they conduct a thorough enough scan to detect the power signature from this lab," she said. "That should be enough time to show you what they're really after." Tommen approached the displays, studying the spinning helices of DNA and cellular structures. "This is human genetic material." "Not just any human genetic material," Nira said, expanding one particular section. "This is yours, Ambassador. I've been analyzing the samples collected during your diplomatic processing when you arrived on the station." Tommen's expression hardened. "You've been studying me without consent." "Standard procedure collects biological data from all visitors for medical and security purposes," Nira countered. "I merely accessed what was already there and what I found." She highlighted a specific sequence in his DNA. "This is unprecedented." The display focused on a complex genetic structure, unlike anything Tommen had seen before. "What am I looking at, doctors?" "A genetic anomaly that shouldn't exist," Nira said, her voice hushed with scientific reverence. "This sequence here, it's not just unusual, it appears to be artificially engineered. It regulates cellular regeneration at rates far beyond normal human capability." Tommen stared at the display, his face unreadable. "You're saying I've been genetically modified?" "I'm saying all humans may have been," Nira replied. "I've analyzed 37 human genetic samples from various Earth regions. Each contains variations of this sequence, though yours is particularly pronounced. This isn't natural evolution, Ambassador Reed. This is deliberate design." A muscle twitched in Tommen's jaw. "To what end?" "That's the question that has the Council terrified," Nira said, bringing up another display showing comparative reproductive cycles across species. "Humans aren't just unusually resilient reproductively, your entire cellular structure repairs and regenerates at accelerated rates. Wounds heal faster, organs regenerate tissue more efficiently, neural pathways form with remarkable plasticity." She turned to face him directly. "Someone engineered humans for adaptive survival in ways that defy evolutionary logic, and whoever did it ensured the modifications would be passed down through generations, becoming an inherent part of your species." Tommen was silent for a long moment, processing this information. "If what you're saying is true, why haven't human scientists discovered this?" "They've observed the effects without recognizing the cause," Nira explained. "Human medicine notes your exceptional healing capabilities but attributes them to natural selection. It takes an outside perspective and comparative data from multiple species to see the pattern clearly. The security system suddenly chimed. Warning, scanning frequencies detected, perimeter breach estimated in 15 minutes. Tommen's focus shifted instantly. We need to move. What's your plan, Doctor? There's a research vessel docked at the auxiliary bay, Nira said, downloading data to a more secure portable device. Small but capable of interstellar travel, if we can reach it. We won't reach anything if we're caught, Tommen interrupted. These people, who are they? Council security. Nira shook her head. The uniforms were wrong, not Council security, something else. Possibly the Genetic Preservation Front. I haven't heard of them. An extremist group that believes in maintaining evolutionary purity across species, Nira explained, finishing her data transfer. They oppose genetic modification and see human reproductive capabilities as an existential threat to other species. Tommen processed this new information quickly. So either they want to suppress your research to prevent panic, or they want to capture me as a research subject. Both most likely, Nira replied grimly. Though I suspect there's more to it. The timing of their arrival coincides too perfectly with your presence here. The security system chimed again. Warning, directed energy scans approaching, shield integrity at 70%. We need a distraction, Tommen said, scanning the laboratory. Something to draw them away from our escape route. Nira moved to another console. I can trigger a containment breach alert in the main laboratory. It would force standard evacuation protocols, clear our path to the auxiliary docking bay. Do it, Tommen said, and I'll need a weapon. Nira hesitated only briefly before opening a secure cabinet. She removed a compact energy pistol and handed it to him. Standard Valori defense weapon, non-lethal but effective. Tommen checked the weapon with practiced ease. You're surprisingly well prepared for a scientist. In my field, discoveries often have political implications, she replied. I've learned to take precautions. She activated the false containment breach. Alarms immediately blared throughout the station, and emergency announcements began directing personnel to evacuation points. We have approximately 8 minutes before they realize it's a false alarm, Nira said. The auxiliary bay is 3 levels up from here. Tommen nodded, lead the way. They exited through another hidden door at the rear of the secret laboratory, emerging into a rarely used utility corridor. As they moved swiftly through the station, evacuation protocols worked in their favor. Most personnel were heading in the opposite direction, toward the primary evacuation points. Ambassador, Nira said as they climbed a service ladder, if we manage to escape, what then? Where can we go with this information? I have contacts, Tommen replied. People who might be interested in what you've discovered, and please drop the ambassador title. I think we're well past diplomatic formalities. They reached a junction where the corridor split in 3 directions. Nira paused, orienting herself. Left, she decided, then 2 more levels up. As they turned the corner, they came face to face with 2 figures in unmarked tactical gear. For a split second, everyone froze in surprise. Then the intruders reached for their weapons. Tommen moved with startling speed. Before Nira could process what was happening, he had disabled both attackers with precise, efficient strikes. They collapsed to the floor, unconscious but alive. You certainly fight better than most diplomats I've encountered, Nira observed, stepping over the fallen intruders. Let's just say my talents extend beyond negotiation, Tommen replied, retrieving one of the attacker's weapons, a more lethal model than the one Nira had provided. Who are you really, Tommen Reed? She asked as they continued toward the auxiliary bay. That's a more complicated question than you might think, he answered, and one best saved for when we're safely away from here. They reached the final corridor leading to the auxiliary docking bay. Through the viewport at the end, Nira could see her research vessel, small but sleek, designed for extended solo missions in deep space. There it is, she said, the Phoenix, self-sufficient for up to 6 months of travel. Perfect, Tommen said, we'll need the... He stopped mid-sentence, pushing Nira against the wall and shielding her with his body as energy fire erupted from the far end of the corridor. 3 more attackers had appeared, blocking their path to the ship. Stay here, Tommen ordered, his entire demeanor changing. Gone was the diplomatic polish, in its place was something primal and focused. Before Nira could protest, He moved into the open, returning fire with remarkable accuracy. His movements were fluid, instinctual, rolling for cover, emerging to fire, advancing methodically toward their attackers. Nira watched in astonishment as this supposed diplomat systematically neutralized all three opponents within moments, sustaining a minor energy burn to his arm in the process. He barely seemed to notice the injury. "Clear," he called back to her, "we need to move quickly." Nira hurried to join him, noticing how the energy burn on his arm, which should have been a serious injury, already showed signs of rapid healing. The skin was regenerating before her eyes, confirming her theories about enhanced cellular repair. "Your arm," she said, gesturing to the wound. Tommen glanced at it almost dismissively. "It's fine, let's get to your ship." They reached the docking bay doors, which Nira unlocked with her research credentials. Inside, the Phoenix waited, a compact vessel designed for scientific exploration rather than combat, but currently their only hope of escape. As they boarded, Nira moved directly to the pilot's console, initiating launch sequences. "Can you get us out of here without station authorization?" Tommen asked, securing the entrance hatch. "The Phoenix has override protocols for emergency research evacuations," Nira explained, her fingers dancing across the controls. "Though they'll know exactly where we've gone once we launch." The ship's engines hummed to life, systems coming online in rapid sequence. Through the viewports, they could see more figures in tactical gear entering the docking bay, weapons raised. "Time to go," Tommen said, strapping himself into the co-pilot's seat. Nira engaged the launch sequence. The docking clamps released, and the Phoenix pushed away from the station just as energy fire began peppering its hull. "Shields holding," she reported, guiding the vessel away from Helios Station with increasing speed, preparing for jump to hyperspace. "They'll send pursuit ships," Tommen said, monitoring the tactical display. "How fast can this research vessel go?" "Faster than it looks," Nira replied with a slight smile. "I've made some modifications." The stars outside the viewport began to stretch as the Phoenix accelerated to jump velocity. Behind them, Helios Station was already deploying security vessels. "Jump in 3, 2, 1. The Phoenix lurched forward, reality distorting around them as they entered hyperspace. For now, at least, they had escaped. As the blue swirl of hyperspace enveloped the viewports, Nira turned to Tommen, her expression serious. "Now I believe you owe me some answers. Who are you really? And why do I get the distinct impression you're not surprised by what I discovered about human DNA?" Tommen regarded her silently for a moment. Then he rolled up his sleeve, revealing the energy burn on his arm, now almost completely healed, the new skin pink but intact. A process that should have taken weeks had occurred in minutes. "Because, Dr. Voss," he said quietly, "I've suspected for a long time that I'm not entirely natural. And I think you might be the only person in the galaxy who can tell me what I really am." Nira stared at his healed wound, scientific curiosity mingling with apprehension. She had sought answers about human biology, but now found herself on the run with living proof of her theories. A human who might represent the next stage of evolution, engineered by unknown hands for unknown purposes. "The question," she said slowly, "isn't just what you are, Tommen. It's who made you this way and why they went to such lengths to hide it." Outside, hyperspace continued to flow around them, carrying them away from Helios Station and deeper into a mystery that spanned galaxies and perhaps even time itself. A mystery centered on the most dangerous secret in the universe, the true origin of humanity. Escape from Helios Station. The Phoenix carved its way through hyperspace, a silver needle threading through the fabric of reality. Inside the compact research vessel, Dr. Nira Voss monitored the navigation systems while occasionally glancing at her unusual companion. Tommen Reed sat silently in the co-pilot's chair, examining his arm where the energy burn had been, now merely a patch of slightly pink skin, indistinguishable from injury to the untrained eye. "The regeneration rate exceeds anything in my research models," Nira observed, unable to contain her scientific curiosity despite their precarious situation. "Even with the genetic markers I identified, this level of cellular repair is extraordinary." Tommen flexed his hand, watching the new skin stretch naturally. "I've always healed quickly. Military doctors noted it during my training but attributed it to good genetics." "Military training," Nira repeated, "not diplomatic corps then." A wry smile crossed Tommen's face. "Both, actually. Earth's Diplomatic Security Division, we handle sensitive missions requiring both negotiation skills and other capabilities. That explains your combat efficiency, Nira said, turning back to the ship's controls. But not why your particular genetic structure shows even more pronounced enhancements than typical humans. The hyperspace corridor around them pulsed with ethereal blue light as Tommen considered his response. My family has a history of military service going back generations. Both parents were military, their parents before them. Selective breeding, Nira suggested. Perhaps whoever engineered these genetic traits has been guiding human reproduction for centuries, ensuring the strongest expressions of these modifications continue. Tommen's expression darkened. You're suggesting my entire lineage was manipulated. I'm suggesting that nothing about human evolution is accidental, Nira replied. The reproductive capabilities, the cellular regeneration, the neural adaptability, these are engineered traits refined over generations. The ship's communication system suddenly chimed with an incoming transmission. Nira tensed, her fingers hovering over the controls. Could they have tracked us through hyperspace? Tommen asked, immediately alert. Impossible with standard technology, Nira replied, examining the signal's pattern. This is different. It's coming through on my private research frequency. She hesitated before accepting the transmission. A holographic projection materialized between them, the translucent blue figure of Jorax, her research assistant. Dr. Voss, the Folian's voice crackled with interference. Are you secure? As secure as one can be while fleeing armed pursuers, Nira replied cautiously. How did you find this frequency, Jorax? You programmed it into my emergency protocols, Jorax replied. Listen carefully, we have little time. The attackers weren't sent by the Council. They're from the Genesis Foundation. Tommen leaned forward. What's the Genesis Foundation? Jorax's holographic form flickered. A shadow organization dedicated to controlling human evolutionary development. They've been operational for centuries, manipulating human genetics while keeping the knowledge from spreading to other species. Nira exchanged a glance with Tommen. How do you know this, Jorax? Because they approached me 3 cycles ago demanding information about your research. The Folian's transparent features showed obvious distress. I refused, but they have operatives everywhere. When Ambassador Reed was scheduled to meet you, they mobilized immediately. They knew I was coming, Tommen said, the realization dawning. Which means they have people in Earth's diplomatic corps as well. They're everywhere, Jorax confirmed. The Foundation has infiltrated governments across multiple species. Their primary directive is to protect what they call the Human Directive, a genetic program implemented thousands of years ago. By whom, Nira asked, her scientific mind racing. That information is their most closely guarded secret, Jorax replied. But I accessed some of their data before escaping Helios. They're not just after your research, Doctor, they want the ambassador. Tommen's expression remained neutral, but Nira noticed his posture tensing. Why me specifically? Your genetic structure contains something they call the primal sequence, the original uncorrupted version of the modified genes. Most humans carry diluted versions, but yours is nearly perfect. They believe you're the key to activating the final stage of their program. The transmission began breaking up, static interrupting Jorax's words. Where are you now? Nira asked urgently. Escaping on a supply transport, Jorax said, his image flickering more severely. Meeting coordinates encrypted in this transmission. Don't trust any. The hologram dissolved into static before disappearing entirely. Silence fell in the cockpit as Nira and Tommen processed this new information. The navigation system beeped softly, indicating they were approaching the end of their hyperspace corridor. The primal sequence, Tommen finally said, his voice unnaturally calm. Do you know what that might be? Nira shook her head. Without further data, I can only speculate, but if your genetic structure is somehow the original template for these modifications, she paused, considering the implications. It could mean you're more than just another modified human, you might be a control specimen. They what? In genetic engineering, scientists maintain pure baseline samples to measure modifications against, Nira explained. If your lineage somehow preserved this primal sequence in its purest form, while other humans developed variations through natural reproduction. I'm a genetic baseline, Tommen finished the thought, a measuring stick. Or a key, Nira added. Jorex mentioned activating something. These genetic modifications might be designed to remain dormant until triggered by specific conditions. The Phoenix emerged from hyperspace into a remote sector dotted with ancient stellar formations. According to the coordinates Jorex had transmitted, their rendezvous point was a small mining outpost on an asteroid at the edge of the system. "Should we trust these coordinates?" Tommen asked. "Jorex has been my assistant for 7 years," Nira replied. "If he's betraying us, then truly nothing in my life has been real." She guided the Phoenix toward the asteroid belt, navigating through the debris field with practiced precision. The mining outpost came into view, a collection of utilitarian structures carved directly into a large asteroid's surface, with minimal lighting to avoid detection. "No signs of other vessels," Tommen noted, scanning the area. "That's either very good or very bad." Nira brought the ship into a docking approach. The outpost appears to be operating on minimal power, standard procedure for abandoned mining facilities kept as emergency shelters. As they docked with the outpost, both remained silent, mentally preparing for whatever might await them. The airlock cycled, pressures equalized, and they stepped cautiously into the facility. The interior was dimly lit, emergency lighting casting long shadows across the metal floors. The air was stale but breathable. "Jorex," Nira called out, her voice echoing through the empty corridors. No responses. "Stay behind me," Tommen instructed, drawing his weapon. They advanced slowly through the outpost, checking each chamber methodically. The main control room was dark when they entered, but motion sensors triggered weak lighting as they stepped inside. A figure sat slumped at the central console. "Jorex," Nira rushed forward before Tommen could stop her. The Folian research assistant was barely alive, his translucent skin ashen and pulsing weakly with diminishing life signs. A severe energy wound had torn through his midsection. "Dr. Voss," he whispered as Nira reached him. They followed, intercepted the transmission. "Who the Foundation?" Tommen asked, scanning the room for threats. Jorex's eyes flickered toward a data terminal. "Downloaded everything, the truth about the program, about you." His gaze fixed on Tommen. "Not what you think, older than humans, much older." "Save your strength," Nira urged, examining his wound with growing despair. The damage was too severe even for her medical knowledge. "No time," Jorex gasped. "They're coming, but not Foundation. Someone else wants the sequence for themselves." His translucent hand shakily pressed a data chip into Nira's palm. "Trust no one, even those who made you." Jorex's final words were directed at Tommen. Then his body shuddered once before the light pulsing beneath his skin faded completely. Nira closed her eyes briefly, mourning her assistant. Then her scientific discipline reasserted itself. She inserted the data chip into her portable analyzer. "Massive encryption," she noted. "It will take time to decode." "Time we don't have," Tommen said, his attention fixed on the outpost's security monitors. 3 vessels approaching, military configuration but no identification markers. Nira quickly downloaded the encrypted data to her secure device. "We need to go, now." They raced back to the airlock, Tommen leading with weapon drawn. As they reached the Phoenix, the outpost's external sensors detected the approaching vessels locking weapons. "They're preparing to fire," Nira warned, rushing to the pilot's console. The Phoenix's engines flared to life just as the first energy blast struck the outpost. The structure shuddered, debris scattering into space as sections decompressed. "Hang on," Nira called, executing an emergency disengagement procedure. The research vessel tore away from the deteriorating outpost, rocketing into the asteroid field as pursuit ships came into view, sleek, predatory vessels with advanced weapon systems. "Those aren't Foundation ships," Tommen observed, studying their configuration. "Different design entirely." "Whoever they are, they're determined," Nira replied, weaving the Phoenix through the asteroid field with remarkable skill. "This research vessel wasn't designed for combat maneuvers." "But you've modified it," Tommen reminded her with the hint of a smile. "For research speed, not dogfighting," she countered, narrowly avoiding a large asteroid as energy blasts carved through space around them. Tommen accessed the tactical controls, any defensive capabilities. Basic deflectors and a single-point energy cannon, for clearing debris, not combat. He nodded grimly. "It'll have to do." As Nira navigated the treacherous asteroid field, Tommen used the ship's modest weapons to strategic effect, not attacking the pursuit vessels directly, but destabilizing asteroids in their path, creating obstacle courses of tumbling space rock. There's a dense cluster ahead, Nira noted. If we can reach it, the radiation might mask our signature long enough to jump to hyperspace. They're gaining, Tommen warned. Energy fire from the pursuit vessels intensified, several blasts glancing off the Phoenix's shields. Warning indicators flashed across the console. Shield integrity at 60%, Nira reported. We won't survive a direct hit. Tommen studied the tactical display. That large asteroid at 2 o'clock, can you get us behind it? Nira adjusted course, sending the Phoenix into a tight spiral around the massive space rock. The pursuing vessels split up, attempting to cut off their escape routes. They're coordinating too well, Tommen observed. Military training, not mercenaries. As they rounded the asteroid, one of the pursuit ships appeared directly in their path, weapons locked. Brace, Nira shouted, executing a desperate evasive maneuver. The Phoenix rolled violently as energy fire streaked past, close enough to superheat the hull. Nira pushed the engines beyond safety limits, sending them hurtling toward the radiation cluster. Shields at 30%, Tommen reported. We can't take another near miss. The radiation cluster loomed ahead, a swirling nebula of energized particles and dust, hazardous to navigate but perfect for cover. Prepare for emergency jump, Nira instructed. I'll get us deep enough for cover, then initiate. The Phoenix plunged into the nebula, sensors immediately struggling against the interference. Behind them, the pursuit vessels hesitated at the perimeter, unwilling to follow blindly into the dangerous conditions. They're launching probes, Tommen warned, watching the tactical display flicker with interference. Almost there, Nira said, her focus absolute as she guided the ship through the swirling chaos. Hyperspace calculations complete. Jump in 3, 2. A proximity alarm blared. One of the pursuit vessels had braved the nebula, closing rapidly. 1. Nira engaged the hyperspace drive. The Phoenix shuddered as reality distorted around them. For a terrifying moment, the ship seemed caught between normal space and hyperspace. Then with a final surge of power, they broke through, the blue corridor of hyperspace enveloping them once more. Tommen released a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. That was too close. Nira slumped slightly in her seat, the adrenaline that had sustained her beginning to ebb. We're safe for now, but the hyperspace motivator took damage. We won't be able to make another jump without repairs. Where are we headed? Tommen asked. Sanctuary, Nira replied. An independent research outpost in the Taurus Reach. Outside Council jurisdiction, beyond Foundation influence, at least as far as I know. She turned to the data device containing Jorax's final gift. Now let's see what was worth dying for. The encrypted data was complex, but Nira's scientific expertise helped her identify patterns in the security algorithms. After nearly an hour of work, fragments began to decrypt. It's coming through, she announced, but only portions are readable so far. Tommen leaned closer as data streamed across the screen. Project Genesis, Stage 3 Activation Protocol. Genetic modifications functioning as designed across 99.7% of human population. Reproductive capacity tests confirm unlimited regenerative capabilities in reproductive systems, transferring to general cellular repair mechanisms as predicted. Primal sequence carriers now identified in 14 bloodlines. Subject TR designated as primary activation candidate due to sequence purity. Extraction authorized. Nira and Tommen exchanged glances. TR, Nira said quietly, Tommen read. They've been tracking me, Tommen realized, probably my entire life. More decrypted text appeared. Original Architect's Timeline Project's final awakening within next solar cycle. Foundation maintains control of key activation sites on Earth. Göbekli Tepe, Nazca, Easter Island, Yonaguni Monument. Competing faction, Stellar Ascendancy, attempting to secure primal carriers for independent activation. Major security breach detected. Nira's expression grew increasingly troubled as she read. This suggests the genetic modifications to humans weren't made by humans at all, but by some ancient intervention, these original architects. And multiple groups are now fighting for control of the outcome. And I'm somehow the key, Tommen said, his voice flat. But to what? The final decrypted segment appeared. Warning, uncontrolled activation of primal sequence could trigger species-wide transformation before preparation complete. Containment protocols authorized. Read subject to be secured and transported to primary facility for controlled activation process. The screen went dark as the decryption program encountered more complex security layers. That's all for now, Nira said. The remaining data requires more processing power than we have here. Tommen stared at the blank screen, his expression unreadable. Species-wide transformation, he repeated. What does that mean? I don't know, Nira admitted. But it suggests the modifications to human DNA weren't just about reproductive efficiency or cellular regeneration. Those might be side effects of something much more significant, perhaps a dormant capacity encoded into your genetic structure, waiting to be awakened. By these original architects, Tommen said, who or whatever they are. A warning light flashed on the console. Nira checked the readings, her expression grim. The hyperspace motivator is destabilizing. We need to drop back to normal space and make repairs. She disengaged the hyperspace drive, and the Phoenix returned to normal space in an unfamiliar star system, a red dwarf surrounded by barren planets and extensive asteroid fields. Where are we? Tommen asked. Somewhere in the Cygnus Arm, Nira replied, consulting the navigation system. Uninhabited as far as I know, we should be safe while we. A massive shadow fell across the viewports as a ship of enormous proportions appeared above them, seemingly materializing from nowhere. It dwarfed the Phoenix, its design unlike anything either of them had ever seen, ancient yet impossibly advanced, with surfaces that seemed to shift and change as they watched. That's not possible, Nira whispered. Our sensors should have detected something that size. The Phoenix shuddered as a tractor beam engaged, drawing them inexorably toward the colossal vessel. Can we break free? Tommen asked, though he already knew the answer. Nira shook her head. The power signature is off the charts. Nothing in known space should be capable of generating that kind of energy. As they were pulled toward the mysterious ship, a communication channel opened automatically. A voice spoke, neither male nor female, neither young nor old, but somehow timeless and profound. Tommen Reed, the voice said, carrier of the primal sequence, it is time for you to fulfill your purpose. The awakening begins. Nira and Tommen exchanged looks of shock and apprehension as the Phoenix was drawn into the massive vessel's docking bay. The truth about human evolution and Tommen's role in it was about to be revealed for better or worse. And as the docking bay doors closed behind them, both realized that their understanding of life in the universe was about to change forever.